Greetings. I would like to do a devotion on the love of God and the security that is born out of the love of God. The portion that I am taking for that is in Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verses 16 and 17, and chapter 2, verse 3. Chapter 1, the last two verses. These are the words of Shulamite concerning Solomon, an ordinary woman loved by Solomon, passed through a lot of insecurities, making few statements about Solomon and his love. In chapter 1, verse 16, she says, "How handsome are you, my beloved, and so pleasant. Indeed, our couch is luxuriant. The beams of our houses are cedars, our rafters cypresses." If you notice in these verses, she is saying, "You are handsome, you are my beloved." And after that, in verse 17, from the word "you," she moves to "are." Because of the love that she has understood of Solomon, and she is speaking about the security of her dwelling place. It's not just her dwelling place. She is mentioning as the security of their dwelling places. If you notice, the word "our house" in verse 17 speaks about Shulamite is very secure because her beloved is with her, and the houses and its beams are cedars, and the rafters are cypresses. And then look at chapter 2, verse 3. "Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the young men. In his shade I took a great delight and sat down, and his fruit was sweet to my taste." She is comparing the beloved as the one who gives shades, and he is like a tree. And then she is comparing the beloved to the tree that gives her the fruit that is very good to taste. So when we read these verses, we have to think about how a believer thinks of God. Can a believer think of God's love in this way? And can a believer say, when God is with me, the beams of my house are cedars? Can a believer say, because of the love of God and the security that is born out of the love of God, that the rafters of my houses are cypresses? Can a believer say, in the most difficult situation, in a most negative situation, in a situation where there is naturally speaking no hope, can a believer say in that verse, "My God is like a tree that gives me shade. My God is like a tree that gives me fruit which is very sweet to the taste"? So there are so many things that are floating around regarding COVID and COVID-19. Now it is 2021. I heard somewhere saying that stay away from COVID-19 positive people. But we also have to say that stay away from negative news, not just from positive people. Because of these news, there are noises, and we miss the voice of God, and we feel very unsafe, and we feel that our house, the beams of our house are not cedars, and we feel that the rafters of our house are not cypresses. And sometimes we say that, "God, you are not giving me shade, and your fruit is of no use." I would like to compare this portion with another portion in 1 Kings chapter 17, and I'm going to read verse 17. This is the story of the widow of Zarephath, who was met by Elijah, and she was about to die, she and her son. And then we all know the story that Elijah multiplies the oil and the flour. And in verse 16 it says that the bowl of the flour was not exhausted, nor did the jar of the oil become empty, according to the word of the Lord which he spoke through Elijah. So they had enough food to eat for so many days. Look at after that she passes through a difficult situation in verse 17. Now it came about after these things that the son of a woman, the mistress of the house, became sick, and his sickness was so severe that there was no breath left in him. She is making a statement now to Elijah, what do I have to do with you, O man of God? You have come to me to bring my iniquity to remembrance and to put my son to death. See the negativity? Where is the safety in the love? So according to her words, she is thinking that God has trapped her. God gave something good and then took away from her. That's what Job's wife said, curse God and die. But Job wasn't thinking like Job's wife. The good things came from the Lord, and also the bad has been allowed by God. So we have to think like the Shulamite thought of her beloved. So our beloved is with us. The beams of our houses are cedars. The rafters of our houses are cypresses. Whenever he is with us, and we can find shade, because he is like a tree that gives us shade. Whenever he is with us, he is like the tree that gives us a fruit which is very sweet to our taste. And God is good. It says in 1 John chapter 4 verse 18 that there will not be fear in love. What do you think there will be in God's love? There will be tremendous amount of security. Thank you so much. God bless you.